Hello everybody, nice to see you again. Thanks for joining us this afternoon on this lovely sunny day. Well, this weekend we should have been at the Barnet Medieval Festival, so we're going to bring you some dishes today that I would have been cooking while we were there. So first we're going to start off with pears in a red wine sauce. Now I've got the wine on the fire already, just heating up. We're just going to add some sugar, some honey and some spices to that before we do the pears. So. Right, that's simmering away nicely. Right, Lexi, could you get me the ginger and the cinnamon out, please? We're going to add some sugar to that. Sugar. And could you grab me just a little spoon, please, out of the...
I've got ginger and...
Right, so we're just adding the honey and the sugar to the wine here. Now that's going to boil down. I'm going to add the pears to that in just a moment. Just give that a bit of a stir.
Is it cinnamon and ginger?
Cinnamon and ginger, yeah. Which one are we doing first? We'll do ginger first?
Yeah.
Now we need quite a lot of ginger for this one. It says a tablespoon, so that's about 6 of these. So it's a nice gingery flavour. I'm going to tip that in because there's not that much left. There we go. Need to refill that one. And cinnamon, which is a teaspoonful, so it's 2 of these. Right, could you just put that back for me, please? Now I've got some pears here already prepared, so I'm just going to pop these in the sauce and then I should prepare the last one ready. So let's just give that a stir. That's nice. All the honey's dissolved into that and all the sugar as well. That's all nicely dissolved in there. So I'm just going to pop these pears in. Just going to lie them down. Yeah, we're going to do that for just a moment. Now to prepare the pears, they need to be peeled first. So we're just going to quickly peel this pear just to add it to the others. You can't do this bit now. We've got a very sharp little knife here, perfect for this. There we go. Probably not on the fire now. Put those in the bowl that the honey came out of. That'd be a good thing. Oh, the other thing that we're going to add to our wine is a star anise, which I have here. So it's just one of those. Just going to pop that in whole, and that will give it a bit of an aniseed flavour as well. I'm just going to finish here the last bits off this here. It's just in that little bowl there, will be fine. Oh, okay. Right, now, when we want to serve the pears, when they're cooked, we need them to stand up in the dish. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take the bottom off the pear. So as you can see, once we serve it, it will be able to stand up right now. So we can pop that one in with the others. And pop the lid back on. There we go. So what was that? Okay, so that's our pear done there. So we're just going to leave that to simmer now for a little while, and before we serve that. So that's just got to be sat there and simmering. So that's everything on that one. Right, now the other thing we're going to do is our fritters. Now what we've got here, we've got some parsnips that I've already prepared. Now these have just been cut into centimetre squares and part boiled, so they're ready to go. And the other thing I've got is some apples here as well. Now while I do the last apple, so I've got those sitting in a little bit of water there. We just need flour, please. We're going to make a batter. So these will go into a batter and then they'll be fried. So we're going to start off with our flour, and to that we're going to add egg and some beer. So put the egg in there. and enough beer to make a smooth batter. So I'm just going to start whisking this up. That's got water in there for drinking. So there we go. Just add a little bit more batter. Could you just find me some salt, please, Lexi? There needs to be quite a thick batter because we need it to stick to the parsnips and the apples.
Spoon.
Thank you.
Cumin. Nutmeg. Pepper.
You find me the salt? That's it. We just need a pinch of salt in there. Can you just do a little bit? About half of the spoonful. So for this recipe, I'm just using plain flour, about 200 grams of plain flour, 1 egg, and enough beer to make it into a nice batter. Yeah, any pear. I mean, pears I've used today are conference pears, so I would think a hard pear, nothing too soft. And they need to be quite firm, not overripe. Otherwise, they'll just turn to mush. What we want is when we serve them, we want them to sit nicely upright in the bowl. Pour the syrup over the top, and then so we can just slice them with our knives. Yep, that's plenty. Lovely, thank you. So I think we need a little bit more beer in there just to.
A little bit more sugar?
No more salt. That was salt, not sugar.
Oh.
Now to this you could add a little bit of spice if you like a spicy apple fritters and parsnip fritters. Right, I'm just going to put some butter in the pot. Now what we're going to do is we're frying these in a mixture of butter and oil. So I'm just going to pop that in there to melt. That shouldn't take long because that's getting quite hot already.
Wait.
Now these apples have been sitting in water, so I'm just going to dry them off a bit because we don't want them to be too wet. I'm just going to dry them off on a cloth there. Just leave that there for now. That's okay. Just going to dry those off there. That's our butter melting quite nicely in the pan as well there. Might just make it a little bit more beer in there, I think. Okay. So there we go. We've got a nice consistency. You probably could use apples. Probably an eating apple, I would think, rather than a cooking apple, because you're not really cooking them like you would a Bramley apple, which usually cooks right through, and you need to add the sweetness to it. But I would think a dessert apple, just a normal eating apple, would probably be quite good. Now this is our butter and oil mixture is quite nearly ready. I'm just going to drop a little bit of batter in there just to see if it's ready to cook on. Just leave that just for a moment more, just to finish cooking. Now, when we take the fritters out of the fat, we're going to dip them in sugar. Now, Alex, if you could just pass me the sugar from over there, please. That's that deep dish there. That's it.
Is this sugar?
That's sugar, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So we've just got in the bowl here. We've just got some just
sugar.
light brown sugar. And I mixed it with a little bit of caster sugar to make it a little bit grainy. Now this you could add some cinnamon to give the fritters a nice spicy flavour. So I think we'll give that a go. We'll do some without, and then we'll add some cinnamon to it, and then we'll try some with. Now that's starting to cook now. So just have a look what that's doing. Just going to mix the oil and the butter in together. Yeah, that's it in now. So right, just that one. what I'm just going to do is just going to dip it one at a time into the batter and straight into the pan. So I'm just doing the parsnips to start with. We'll just start with the parsnips. You don't want too much batter on them. There we go. Right, now we'll pop some apples in as well. Okay, don't worry, sweetheart. Just pop those in the pan there. Okay, they're a little bit slow to get going actually, but just do with a little bit more heat under the pan. Just wash my hands. Okay. Right, that's not quite hot enough. Let's just see if we can get the fire going underneath a little bit more. A bit more. You need quite a hot fire, obviously, to get the fat nice and hot, to be able to cook, to fry. Because we're not quite deep frying, but I've got about half a centimetre of fat in the bottom of that that pan there. Get that built up a little bit there. Just have a quick look at our pears and see how they're doing. Yep, they're simmering nicely there. Now they would take around about 30 minutes, I would think, with quite a nice fire underneath to get that nice and simmering nicely. And then what you do is you reduce down your liquid to make a really nice thick syrup that will go over pour over the top. Have a drink, yeah. There we go. So these are beginning to fry now. Some more parsnips. Shall we put some more parsnips in there, shall we?
Is there an apple in there?
There's some apples in there as well, yes.
I put some.
You could use any fruit probably for the fritters. Probably use the pears for the fritters. I do have another recipe that uses orange, fried orange, which sounds quite interesting. Which,
I do the dipping bit.
there we go, on there. Just dip it in, all of it in, and get your hands dirty. That's it. There we go, thank you. There we go. Right, we'll have to leave that there for a minute because we've not got any more room. There we go. Right, they're being a little bit slow to get going today. That's not quite hot enough. So I've used today, I'm using sugar as well as honey in the pears. But for this recipe, I am using sugar. Now, sugar was a luxury in the 15th century. It was available. It's first recorded in 1069, where it was brought from India. Sugar cane was brought from India and was used to make sugar. Now, during the 14th century, there is a reference to sugar being 2 shillings a pound. So that was quite a lot of money in those days for sugar. So it was only for the very rich that were able to have the sugar. Honey there on the other side, that honey was quite readily available if you knew how to look after bees. Right, I'll just turn these little fritters over here. Seem to be cooking a little bit better. There's nothing to do at the moment. We're just waiting for things to cook, really. I'm just going to get these fritters turned over.
Parsnips.
Parsnips and apples, yes.
I love apples.
Apples and parsnips, yes. That's it. So they're frying nicely now. So we really need them to go sort of a golden brown colour. I don't think they're going to quite go that that brown today, but we'll just see. Let's see. Hello, Lorraine. Nice to see you. You can catch up if you want to watch the videos again. You can catch them on YouTube or later on my Facebook page. They will be there for you to have a look at if you want to go back and look again. And the recipes as well. I'll put the recipes up for these a little bit later on today. Yeah. This is not quite hot enough. Just going to give the pears a little stirring up just to get all the nice flavours into those pears. They're softening up already. They're doing really well, actually, but we need to get them soaking up all that red wine and all those lovely flavours together. They are changing colour, yes. So just pour over that lovely juice on the top of those pears.
Yeah.
So it was ginger and cinnamon we put in there with the red wine. A whole bottle of red wine went into here, and 1 cup of water as well. So it's the honey and the sugar. So there we go. Just leave that. Put the lid back on there. Yes. Oh. There we go. Yeah, Lexi, say hello.
Hello.
Okay, right, I'm going to just take some of these out now and dip them in the sugar, just so we can have a little bit of a taste and see what they like. And first of all, we're going to go with a parsnip here, so I'm just going to drain the fat off.
I'm not going to eat one because I don't like parsnips.
You don't like parsnips, okay. Well, let's get an apple out for you as well then, shall we, Lexi?
Yeah.
That one seems to be quite nicely cooked as well, so we're just going to pop that in the sugar and just turn it over into the sugar. Could you go and get me the
It
big
looks
plate?
like sugar donuts.
They do look a bit like sugar donuts, yes.
This one?
The plate, yeah, that's it. Lovely, thank you. So what we're going to do is just dip those in the sugar and pop those on the plate. Do you want to pop the plate down? Yeah.
It's going to be a bit hot.
What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this first for you and put them in the sugar, and then I will add some cinnamon to the sugar so we can get a different taste with the the second lot. Not quite as brown as I'd like them to be, but they are going crispy now. Let's just get some apples.
Kind of like donuts.
They do look a bit like donuts, yes. Let's just coat them in the sugar. You could have helped me with that bit. They're quite hot, very hot because they've just come out of the hot oil. So just
The hot butter.
lift those up
The hot butter.
and pop those on the plate there. So there we go. Hot oil and hot butter together, yes. So there we go. There's our apples that side. Apples that side and parsnips that side.
Yeah, so then I can make the apple.
You can have the apples, yes, that's right, yes. There we go. Let's just get a few more of these going here.
Can you have the apple?
I will do some more apples. Let me just drain these off and pop them in the sugar. So, right, let's have some more apples then, please. Let's see.
An apple.
Yeah. Okay. I would. Yeah, it doesn't really matter too much on the wine. I just used a sort of medium price wine. You don't want anything that's going to be too bitter because you need to be a little bit sweet because it's obviously you're putting it with pears, so you want to try to keep that sweetness there. Just put some of these.
Go on.
That one.
I'll dip it in.
Don't drop it in. Oh, you like getting messy, don't you, Lexi? Thank you. Let's just do a few more of the parsnips as well. There. You go and wash your hands, Lexi.
This one.
Yeah, in the bowl of water. So that the parsnips, I part cook them for about 5 minutes just to soften them up a little bit, so they don't take quite so long to cook when you're frying them. You want to cook the batter and not necessarily what's inside. So I'm just going to drop the last of those in there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I have another apple? Just one more.
Want to try one of those? Right, let's just get these
Are they hot
tossed in
still?
sugar. They're probably a little bit warm still, yes.
I'll just go on it.
There we go. Right. Shall we now pop some cinnamon in the sugar? And we'll try some with cinnamon. Let's see. Says you're doing a great job. You're doing a cracking job, Lexi. So let's just put the last few of those first batch in there. Obviously, you're going to need to get your fat a little bit hotter than I've got it here today. So it's just, my fire's not quite hot enough.
Wait, is that more fat?
That's more batter, yeah. So, right, could you get me some cinnamon out, please, Lexi, to add to this sugar? And we'll try the next batch with cinnamon in them. No, that's cumin. That would make a very different taste altogether.
Cardamom, saffron, coriander.
It's in there.
Yeah.
She's going through nearly every herb in my herb box. So
Cinnamon.
Cinnamon, well done. Okay, have you got the spoon as well?
Yeah. Can I put some in?
You can put some in.
Like just how many teaspoons?
A couple of those spoonfuls will be fine. In that. These are doing a bit better now. The fire, it's obviously getting a little bit hotter in the fire now. And they are cooking a little bit better. That's it. Right, we mix that in. You can go and find me a little spoon and mix that in.
No, that's one stop. Oh, is there one like you done with the honey?
That's it.
Can I mix it in?
Right, that's it. You mix that in together. So this, as I say, would be for a really rich person, because we're using sugar, we're using spices, things that wouldn't necessarily would be very difficult to get hold of. They wouldn't be easy to get hold of, and certainly not for the poorer people. So there we go. That's that sugar and cinnamon nicely mixed in. Now let's feel. That one's probably ready for eating. If you'd like to try it now, Lexi.
That's a bit hot still.
It's still a bit hot, is it? Let's cut it in half so you can just try a little bit. Oh, that's nice crispy batter on that. Let me try that a little bit. Pop it straight in. What do you think then, Lexi?
That's good.
Yes, you could probably use fruit juice, grape juice for the pears instead of wine. Or you could just use syrup. You just use your spices with the water and the sugar and honey. You'd still get a really nice flavour with that. So yeah, you could use fruit juice. Nice red grape juice would work equally as well. So yeah,
Can I have that little bit?
you can have that little piece.
Is that apple?
I'm not sure if that's apple or parsnip actually. You can just try it.
I can't even taste the thing.
You can't taste it. Perhaps that was just a piece of batter there.
Maybe that was just a piece of.
Maybe that's a piece of batter. Maybe that's a piece of batter. Put that in sugar. That would be lovely.
Is that a piece of butter? No, it's not. It's very hard.
That's batter. That's just batter.
Hard butter.
Okay, this second lot are nearly ready now. So
I'm trying to do it right. One is too hard.
okay, just a minute. No, I wouldn't think so. No, no. Oil and fats would have been used for candles. Beeswax would have been used for candles, and that would burn. Or fat from animals would be rendered down to make candles for poorer people. So it would be unlikely. But they would have been very skilled in lighting their fires and getting them to the temperature they wanted to. I mean, obviously, I've only got a very small fire here, and this is sort of quite experimental cookery. You know, on a small scale for myself. So it's just a bit of, I need a little bit more practice getting off the fire, I think. So that's those nearly ready. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this last lot out of the pan, and that one. Right, I'm going to move these over now. We've got room to put the cinnamon ones on this side. Right, if I pop them in, will you sprinkle some sugar over with the spoon, Lexi, please?
It's not quite mixed in there.
That's okay. Right, so we've just got some parsnips and apple going in there. Just put them in a little bit of sugar.
I can't turn the parsnips over.
Yeah. Need a bit of a hand there. Over the top.
Is that an apple?
That, I think, is an apple, yes. So there we go. There's the. Now these would just be served on a plate. They wouldn't be part of a meal. They would just be a side dish, a sweet treat sort of thing. So there we go. That's the cinnamony ones. Right, would you like to try a little bit of cinnamon apple? Let's just cut a little piece off of that one for you. That one might be a little bit hot, so just leave it for a moment to cool down.
Can I wash my hands?
You can wash your hands. Right, I'm just going to take the last few of the fritters out here, and then we'll have a look at our pears and see how the pears are doing. Drain the fat off there.
This water is all white.
There we go. Right, so okay, that's the last of those fruit. Sugar beet wasn't used until the 18th century. Sugar beet was from Germany. They realised that beet could be used to produce the sweet sugar that people liked. So beet wasn't around in the 15th century to use for sugar. It was all made from sugar cane, as I say, which came from India, which is why it was so expensive. Now, going back to sort of Roman times, sugar was considered a medicine. It wasn't for general eating or cooking. It was just used for a medicine to help stomach ailments at the time. So there we go. Right, we're just going to move these out of the way. Yeah, could you just put those at that end for me, please? Just make a bit of a space.
What's that
Okay.
for?
Right, just pop that one up there as well. I'm just going to move these out of the way now. Onto the table. Because what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to get one of the pears out of the.
Excuse me.
No. Right, so we've got a nice dish here. So there's our apple fritters done, and what we're going to have a look now here is we're just going to take the lid off our pears. Now, these are done very nicely. They've picked up the colour of the wine nicely. I'm just going to choose a nice one. So what we do is we just get our pear, we just stand it up in our bowl, and then this would just be served with the juice over the top. Oh, it's a shame you can't smell this. It smells just like mulled wine.
Can I smell it?
There we go. So there we have our pear dish as well. Now, just using my eating knife here, this would be just side would be sliced off and just eaten. I can pick it up just like that. Just let that go. That's very good. Very hot.
Can I smell it?
Mm-hmm. Does that smell nice? Now the liquid here is still quite runny. What you could do is once you've taken the pears out, you could boil the liquid quite rapidly to make a real syrup, and then pour the syrup over there, which would make it much richer and you know, much sweeter as well. So is there any more questions? What's that like, Lexi?
I don't think this one's cinnamon. It does taste good.
It tastes good, does it? That's good.
Is the cinnamon ones down there?
This is the cinnamon ones on this side, yes.
Oh.
So there you go. That's our dishes for today. I will have a look for a recipe for rose cream. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I think I have seen one. I will have a look and I will let you know. Thank you for your question. Okay. So I think that's it for today now. You've seen how we do the poached pears. And they look, I must say, they look gorgeous. They sit nice and nice in the dish, so it's quite a statement piece. And the nice sweetness of the fritters there. So on Wednesday, have a look out. I'll be making some cheese. And next Saturday, I will be live cooking a rabbit. So I'll be spit roasting a rabbit and then making a stew from it. So I look forward to seeing you all again next time. Okay. Thank you for joining us today. Bye.
Bye bye. It's bad that you can't taste this.